back with Seers for Chapter 3. We just lost Jennifer to the spirits in the stone circle, and Freya tried to look back and see if she was there, and she's not, so... Alright. She shrugs, then hurries to catch up to the end of the line. Chapter 3. Oaks. The outskirts of the forest, which seemed so unattainable the night before, are much closer. I watched them penetrate the ancient oaks under a dense canopy of twisted branches and knotted roots. The cover of the trees allowed me to approach the group and reduces the risk of finding myself face to face with one of the guardian seers. The Sylvan Seers are not a danger to me. They're too busy with their search for the sun and the morning dew. Once again, Duncan has taken the head of the convoy, but seems preoccupied. He lets the others overtake and waits for Freya to join him. Duncan, did you keep Yennefer's doll? Yes, Arlen wanted to take it. I don't know why, but I wanted to keep it for myself. You didn't get that feeling? Duncan is taken aback. What feeling? How do I put this? Since I've been on the island, I've been having sort of intuitions. Like a little voice in your head pushing you to do something you didn't plan to do. Duncan reflects for a few moments. Yes, now that you mention it. Do you think it's the Seers? No, I don't think so. You know, after Jennifer disappeared at the Comlich, I saw that strange girl appear with the antlers. I think it comes from her. Surprised, I withdrew into myself for a few moments before rejoining them. Hadn't thought they would be so perceptive. And I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing. I sped to catch up with them and pick up the thread of their conversation. Did you have time to get to know Jennifer? Not really. I don't understand why the Seers took her. She seems so well equipped to succeed in the trials. I don't really understand either. Freya smiles. It's not as if we had the choice. Now that we're on the island, we're at the will of the Seers. She looked up towards the sky to the summit, which can be made out behind the overhanging branches of the oaks. If the Seers have taken her, they must have a good reason. Yes, I'm sure you're right. This doll? You think Jennifer has children? I have no clue. Yes, maybe her daughter gave it to her when she left home. To bring her luck? Yes, maybe. Freya rummages through her bags and takes out the doll. She holds it out to Duncan, who takes it surprised. You should talk to Arlen and give her the doll. They talked quite a bit yesterday, and I think it would please her to have this. Okay. Duncan stops to wait for Arlen, who had fallen behind. Oh, is that Jennifer's doll? Duncan's a little awkward. Yeah, Freya wants me to give it to you. Arlen takes the doll. You know, I guess several brothers and sisters. I know how important something like this can be to a child. Didn't you have a favorite toy when you were little? The two start walking again. Duncan's face hardens. No. My family doesn't tolerate that kind of whim, even in children. Arlen seems astonished. And Duncan changes the subject. Did you ever get a chance to chat with Jennifer yesterday? Yes, we spoke quite a bit together during the walk. I think she lost her family A fever struck down her village. That must be why she had this doll with her. An argument at the front of the line interrupts their conversation. There is a cry. Arlen hisses Herrick between her teeth. She and Duncan exchange a look and hurry to join the others. At the sharp bend in the path which winds between the cairns, Duncan finds a small clearing. Connor's on the ground, shielding his face with his forearms. Eric's bent over him, sword in hand. Hey! Eric turns his attention to Duncan, looking furious. Connor takes advantage to crawl out of the reach of the blade and gets swiftly to his feet. Duncan, Connor points at Eric. He attacked me without reason. Eric is crimson. Without reason. Really? What happened now? It's this runt who... Connor leaps at the first chance to cut off Eric. A runt? You see, Duncan, he won't stop insulting me. Eric turns to Duncan. You're so blind, all of you. Don't you see he's a temple spy? He's a traitor. He has no right to tread the ground of this sacred place. Frey has entered the clearing and approaches Duncan. Everyone's free to attempt this initiation. It's for the Seers to judge if he's worthy to receive the flame or not. Eric throws a black look at Freya. Even you've let yourself be seduced by this heretic's pretty words. And I think that you'd almost convince me that you were a true hunter, worthy of the northern clans, Freya. Eric spits on the ground. You're a bunch of fools. You really believe he's here for the initiation? He doesn't give a damn about traditions. The temple sent him to destroy our magic, to impose their doctrine of the single god. Connor clears his throat. Listen, Eric. I'm sorry about Jennifer, but... Without warning, the warrior lets out a hoarse shout and charges at him. Connor dodges him, vaulting out of the way, but trips on a root and falls. Freya seizes her bow. Eric lifts his blade, determined to bring it down on Connor's head. Why are you guys doing this? Duncan, without a thought for his own safety, was just in time to intervene. He deflects the course of the weapon, but the force of the impact sends his shield flying. Connor gets up and backs off across the clearing. Arlen comes up upon the commotion and joins them. She refrains from intervening, knowing that she could only add fuel to the flames. Eric's rage was shifted to cold anger. The two men gauge each other. Duncan holds the intimidating gaze of the mountain of muscles facing him. He knows that if he tries to force the issue, Eric will read his persistence as a challenge. But maybe Eric doesn't really intend to kill Connor. Maybe his and Freya's intervention has been enough to convince Eric to be tolerant. Duncan decides he cannot take the risk of leaving Connor to the northern warrior's mercy. He's determined to fight. Duncan, get out of my way. Duncan clenches his hand around the hilt of his sword. The two men eye each other. He knows that Eric has taken his decision. No matter what happens, blood will be spilled. That's not good. Anything else would be a dishonor for him and his clan. Eric lets out a thunderous laugh. So be it. If you really want to lose your life for some scurrying temple louse, that's your choice. Freya, who had drawn her bow, seeing that the situation was changing into single combat, lowers her weapons and waits for the conclusion. Duncan grits his teeth. He knows that he is not his adversary's equal, but he can't turn back now. Eric lifts his blades and sweeps it at Duncan's right side, trying a backhanded strike. Reading fighting is going to be fun. Duncan counters the cut with his sword, but the impact's too powerful and it slams him into the floor. Ow. You can eat some of that. Eric has an amused smile and lets Duncan get up before trying. This time Duncan holds his own and retaliates, attacking with the point of his sword. Not smart. The two men slash at each other again and again. They seem pretty well, honestly, matched, except for that part. Eric's not even out of breath, but Duncan is tiring fast. If I don't intervene, the outcome is clear. Eric will kill Duncan and then attack Connor. That's not good. If Freya interferes, she'll probably suffer the same fate. I must do something to avoid this bloodbath. I approach the fighters. Duncan is losing ground. He will not hold out much longer. A fierce strike makes him lose his balance, and Eric lifts his blade skywards. If it falls, Duncan is finished. There is a moment of wavering. Duncan lowers his eyes, resigned. He knows there is an opening, but he cannot resolve himself to take Eric's life. Duncan, if I don't do something, he will allow himself to die rather than to kill. I have no choice. I cannot allow him this pointless sacrifice. Not now. Oh man, did we stab Eric? Without hesitation, I seize Duncan's hand and plunge his sword into Eric's chest. Damn. Eric drops his sword, more in surprise than in pain. The mountain of muscle lurches and then falls to one knee. Duncan rolls out of his reach. The two men stare at each other. Eric seems unable to accept what's happening. Blood gushes from his chest. He lifts his eyes to the sky, searching, perhaps for a sign from the Seers, and then collapses in the grass of the clearing. Wow, that sucked. Arlen steps forward carefully, and Connor trails behind her. Duncan sits, his eyes blank. Oops, I didn't read the end of that. He has a cut to his shoulder, and behind him is Eric's body. He's motionless. I have a feeling I'm not making great choices. But oh well. Arlen suppresses a shudder. On one hand, she perfectly understands how the situation could have escalated. She's accustomed to bullying as the stranger's daughter in a small fishing village. More than once she's dreamt of answering the insults and condescending stares and other injustices. She always resisted in fear of the repercussions her brothers and sisters would suffer. She crouches at Eric's side. He is motionless, no breath, and no pulse. Arlen can do nothing for him. She turns to Duncan to see if he needs aid. She wishes that Jennifer was here. He has a gash on his shoulder, but it doesn't look too deep. Connor finally speaks. I'm sorry. Arlen turns back to Connor, her face sorrowful. It was inevitable. Eric's been looking for a fight since he set foot on this island. After the departure of Jennifer, we should have known that this might get worse. Jennifer? Yes, didn't you notice she calmed Eric down several times? Now that you mention it, are you sure you did nothing to provoke him? Of course I didn't. I'm not stupid. I saw how fast things could have gotten out of hand last night. Duncan rises with difficulty. His muscles were sore after the fight with Eric. Fine, so be it. That said, I think it's about time you explained what you're doing here. What I'm doing here? I came to do my magical initiation just like all of you. His intentions don't matter, Duncan. It's the Seers who will judge. Duncan lifts an eyebrow, astonished. You don't want to know why a guy who doesn't revere the same gods as we do risked his life to be a shaman? Huh. Arlen decides to let Connor stand up for himself. Freya replies, Of course I'm curious, but his motives are his alone. Duncan's about to retort, but Connor cuts him off. You're right. You're entitled to an explanation, especially after. Connor glances at Eric's body, especially after what just happened. I'll be frank with you. Yes, the temple did send me to spy on what happens on this island. Duncan opens his mouth, but Connor hushes him with a wave of his hand. But if I'm part of this expedition today, it's because they won't shed a single tear if any chance I don't come back. I'm a street child. If the temple had taken me in like many other orphans, I'd have turned out no good. Or perhaps I'd ended up getting myself killed by some other beggar or by a hand winter. You've gotten to know me a bit by now. You must realize I'm not cut out to be a priest and even less a temple guard. That's why when they needed someone to send to this island, they chose you. Right. Because they didn't know what else to do with me. Okay. Let's imagine you pass the initiation. What will you do with the knowledge and gifts which you have received? Connor takes a deep breath. Honestly, I don't know. But I've understood correctly, the Seers will only let me take this sacred flame if I'm worthy. Exactly. In that case, I suppose that if I'm worthy in the eyes of the Seers, it's because I'm not going to betray them. And on the contrary, if I'm not worthy, I won't be able to complete the ascent, right? It seems logical. So, you have nothing to fear. Duncan doesn't look convinced. Well, whether we like it or not, Connor is part of our expedition. Instead of squabbling over who deserves to be here the most, we should take care of Eric, don't you think? Yes, we must respect the rights. He died in combat, and the least we can do is honor his memory. We should build him a funeral pyre. That will take us forever. Can't we bury him instead? No, that's not the custom. And how do you plan to dig a grave? We don't have any tools. Look. Whoa. A procession of small beings have entered the clearing, and they are accompanied by a great heart with pure white pelts. They look in my direction, but don't seem to want to challenge me, at least for the moment. They surround Eric's body and kneel with deep reverence. Arlen takes a step forward, about to speak to them, but Freya catches her arm and tells her with a look to stay back. The Seers have loaded the body onto the back of the heart and are about to slip away between the trees. I could use Arlen to call them to account, or at least to demand an explanation, but that could put she and I in danger, and I am not sure the risk is worth taking. I'll let the Seers go. The group doesn't move as the procession leaves the clearing, taking Eric's body with them. Soon they're swallowed up by the vegetation. The group finds itself alone again in the forest. Duncan goes to the head of the line as usual, and Freya follows close behind. Walking again is a little painful with her tired muscles, but she lives with it. Little by little, one step after another, she falls into a rhythm and lets her mind wander. She recalls the fight between Duncan and Eric. Something bothers her, but she can't put her finger on it. She hurries to catch up with Duncan. Duncan? He also seems deep in thought. Yes? There's something I don't understand. Can I talk to you for a minute? Yes, of course. What is it? When you fought with Eric, he was on the point of dealing the final blow. Yes, I really thought I was going to die. Freya frowns. Exactly. You lowered your weapon as if... how should I put it? As if you were giving up the fight. Duncan looks disturbed. I don't know. I had the feeling that something or someone guided your hand to deliver the final blow to Eric. Duncan takes a moment to think. Yes, that's it exactly. I was ready to die. You'll think I'm a coward, but I didn't want to take Eric's life. When he knocked me down, I gave up. And then, just when Eric was about to finish me, it was as though someone took my hand and thrust my sword into his chest. I take a few steps in silence. Freya looks lost deep in thought, as though she's assembling various pieces of information to make a whole. Suddenly she turns to Duncan, startling him. Do you ever have the feeling of hearing like a little voice in your head? What do you mean? As if someone's telling you what to do or what to say. Freya looks away. Forget what I just said, it's silly. No, now that you mention it, yes, I've had that feeling too, since we've set foot on this island. Do you think it's this little voice, like you said, that pushed me to kill Eric? Who else? I don't believe it comes from the Seers. No, me neither, when they came to take Eric's body. Do you think they seemed annoyed by what had happened? Duncan considers. Yes, with those masks it's hard to tell what they think, but yes, it's how they seem to me too. Do you think it could be the girl you saw that night on the comlet? Let's just say that's my intuition. But in that case, what did she have against Eric? I don't know. Unless... Freya is silent. Unless what? Unless she had nothing in particular against Eric, but it was you she wanted to keep alive. That's a possibility. But why want me to survive? Me rather than Eric? Freya shrugs. No idea. They continue on their way in silence. The slope towards the foothills of the mountain is rising, and the forest is denser. Thickets of brambles hem the path. The night begins to fall, and Duncan turns to Freya. If you see a place to stop, let me know. It's getting late. I think I saw a clearing a bit higher up between the trees. Duncan checks that Arlen and Connor are still close behind before hurrying onward. Further on, the forest opens to a small clearing, bordered on the southeast quarter by a set of standing stones. In the center, there are the remains of an old campfire. This looks ideal. Absolutely, and this time we won't be short on wood. Duncan and Freya silently built a fire, while Arlen divides up 4 portions of what's left of their provisions. Is that all that's left? Yes, tomorrow we'll have to find food. We need to keep some rations for when we reach the uplands. I think there will be plenty of hunting while we're in the forest, but there will probably be fewer food sources as we get closer to the summit. Arlen agrees and makes the portion smaller. The group eats in silence, and then each of them settles for the night. Connor, not playing your flute this evening, Arlen? I'm sorry, but I'm really just not in the mood after all that's happened. Oh, okay, I understand. Arlen lies down close to the fire. When all the group has succumbed to the fatigue of the road, I wander into the forest to pass the time until morning. The interlacing branches and brambles are claustrophobic. I need air. We're too far now for me to return to the beach. I escape uphill towards the summit. When I reach the edge of the forest, between the oaks and the pines, I am seized by a compelling call. I am in a forest, but it's different from the ones I had just left. The trees are dressed in flamboyant colors of fall. There's a strange mist that seems to run between the trunks. I am in someone's dream. Freya? I have not dreamed in an age, not since I became a prisoner of this in-between world. A multitude of forgotten sensations overwhelm my senses. The sweet odor of the humus, The sound of the wind in the leaves, the tinge of autumnal chill on your skin. I think I make out a figure in the distance, in the mist. I move closer. Freya crouches behind the trunk of a dead tree. She has her bow to hand on the lookout. Peh. She turns her head to watch me approach, surprised. Rowan? What are you doing here? There's a sound of snapping twigs. Freya signals me to get down. She points towards a tree in front of us. She murmurs in my ear, I've been tracking that doe since this morning. Rowan, you know my name. Don't be silly, Rowan. Of course I know your name. I came to save you on the island of the Seers. She signals me to be quiet, and then in a single graceful move she stands, draws her bow, and loses an arrow. The doe has no time to see death coming, and she collapses silently with her last breath. Freya smiles at me. She's vibrant with simple joy, the thrill of the chase, and the victory over the animal. There's not an ounce of malice or guilt in her. I think we'll eat well tonight. In a brush of tenderness, I put my hand on Freya's shoulder. She pays no attention. She stays mesmerized by her catch. She jumps over the trunk, motioning me to follow. I climb over the dead tree, but as I don't have her grace and agility, she's already several yards ahead. Little by little, as she approaches the prey, the mist thickens. The light dims, and a strange cold grips the now soundless forest. In the distance, the light of a great fire illuminates the underbrush, creating a radiance that dances between the trunks. Freya approaches with difficulty, slowed by the weight of the doe she's killed, which is slung over her shoulders. We enter a clearing with a large table set. The laughter and conversation stop abruptly as they see Freya arrive. Freya goes to the middle table and disposes the game in front of a tall woman with long white hair. My offering for the goddess. The tall woman rises and regards Freya with an iron stare. You are late for the banquet, daughter. Freya lowers her eyes. I know. I wish to honor our clan. Brunhild swells with a cold anger. That is not the role of your future shaman. I've already lost one daughter. I do not want to lose another. Get this. Go out of my sight. Freya stares at the empty chair to her mother's right. For an instant, ghostly shade seems to sit in this place, traditionally that of the eldest daughter. She bends to pick up her offering and returns to the trees, her head down. The laughter, the songs, the sounds of feasting resume with renewed vigor, but the light of the bonfire is puffed out like a candle. There's a moment of darkness, and I'm driven from her dream into the disembodied solitude, the in-between world, my prison, as the sun rises over the forest. When I arrive at the I don't know how to pronounce that one. The group is already up and about. The mood is glum. After all that's happened, it's natural that their morale is not high. Harlan scatters the last embers in the fireplace while the others gather their belongings. Then they set off again. Alright, that's the ending of Chapter 3, and we're entering 4. And we will see what happens to our band of friends next time. We're about halfway through the game already, folks. I hope you're enjoying it as much as I am. You know what to do. Leave likes, leave a comment, let me know if you like the game, and I'll see you next time. Laters.